I am unashamed. What about you?
So welcome back to Unashamed. We had a little dust up here before we got going, but one day that'll be a podcast topic, we've decided.
I think it's a family dynamic.
Yeah.
That every few days we must have an argument.
And I get tickled at the argumentative style because it's such a throwback to our parents. Because I just remember all those years and all those holidays. It was just like what I just witnessed. And it's funny to me, but it's good.
Well,
and we had guests here. We embarrassed ourselves.
We had guests?
Yeah, so JD turned 18 today.
We're going to have to get them to sign a, what do you call it?
Non-disclosure agreement. Yeah, you have to sign the NDA before you leave.
If I'd have known that, I wouldn't have been so sarcastic.
So JD is turned 18 this week, so he's a young man officially, and his mom works with Lisa selling real estate, so they're here today, witnessing what they just saw.
But I wonder, as we were doing it, I wonder if Maddie stepped in. She stepped in and said, "All right, that's the bell. Round one.
Round one.
we got to record." And then Jase goes, "I think I won that round." I said, "I think I won that round." And then that started a whole nother. That started round two.
Yeah.
And so
then it's who wins.
So Al, let me ask you: if nobody intervened, how long do you think me and Jase would sit here?
We would still be going. It would go all morning. It's because I've seen these. I see, and then at some point it gets personal. You know, we never got there, but at some point it would have gotten into personal attacks. That's the only way you can really end it.
The reason those are helpful though is because I found those illuminating.
Yeah, because you understand now why Zach is.
I was like, I figured out. You know, the first problem is realizing there is a problem. And I'm like, ooh, I think I figured something out here.
Well, Jase did say Zach may be working towards getting baptized again, so we'll see how that works out. We'll let you know when we're ready to have that discussion in public. So I feel like, man, yesterday we recorded podcasts. We rarely go back to back.
And you weren't here yet.
I wasn't even here.
So you made the drive last night?
So I got in at 3 a.m. the night before from the event, or morning before from an event. Got up, we did yesterday's podcast. Then I drove back home to be here for today. So I'm not sure where I am. I'm somewhere over the fruited plains, but my body is here.
You know what I found fascinating? It was 80 degrees yesterday, and this morning it was 29.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
This is the last of the cold weather, I guess. Because
it was springtime, flowers.
Like 2 days, it'll be 80 degrees again.
And then you're like, oh, wait. Wow.
One last blast.
Let's build a fire this morning.
Or is it hitting you today, Zach? Is it over there where y'all are?
Wearing? I got a wool sweater on, so if that tells you anything. The last time I wore this wool sweater was in a duck blind with Jase when we had ice apocalypse. So it was.
You had that on, and I didn't say anything.
I had it on underneath all my stuff.
Oh, the way he put it on. I was fixing to say. Ducks could see that.
Now this is my base layer is a wool long underwear, and then I put this on, and then I got my jacket. And
we all know the jacket, the abominable snowman.
But I did not get cold.
You were layered. So, Jase, today ends your bachelor run.
I've been the lone wolf. Last night I celebrated, and I went and got some crawfish and some shrimp, which was fantastic. I mean, that's why I like this time of year. I love LSU baseball, even though we're a work in progress this year, but we give a lot of grace when you're the defending national champion, so I'll throw that in.
Mm-hmm.
And we have crawfish. So I've actually eaten more crawfish this season than years past.
I saw some the other day. They look really big this year, the ones I saw. But
maybe that's why I was so frisky, because you eat a bunch of crawfish, I got my painters out this morning when Zach started spawning heresy. I just couldn't help it, So.
If oysters are an aphrodisiac, a crawfish or a fighter.
It was
for Jay.
Sorry, I was going to say it wasn't heresy, but
look,
but listen,
I said
we don't have
that
to bring it up.
affectionately.
Yeah.
We'll that's the verdict's still out on that. But I actually won a bet the other night in another argument because I threw this fact out that female crawfish has up to 800 young. And somebody said, that's not true. Because they're thinking one crawfish. How could one crawfish, which this wasn't exactly a Christian environment. So when they said, are you trying to tell me that one crawfish has 800? That's not even possible. And so, well, you talking about a setup. I was like, well, I believe the Bible says with God, all things are possible. Look it up. And somebody found a picture of about 800 little bitty ones on the end of a crawfish. Yeah. And they're like, well, how many you think that is? They're like, wow, I never knew that was going on.
They thought they were just producing one crawfish at a time.
I think so.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no.
You never taught us that, dear old dad, but that was right out of a life lesson.
So, I mean, I'm sure I could have looked that up and see. I think I will.
Yeah, look it up.
Let's see. I may be wrong on that, but I know they're not like a horse.
I do remember on the original show, which is one of the reasons why Dad was always so funny to me. He was funny in a dad, like, not trying to be funny sort of way. But remember the one episode, Jase, where he did the birds and the bees lesson to Cole? I think it was Cole, wasn't it? That he was and he
Cole.
used the crawfish as the example. And he was pointing out the male crawfish, and he said, and you see right there, Cole, man, that's what in the business they call that the tallywhacker. That's what he referred to it on the show, the tallywhacker. So there's that. Do you find it?
I'm looking now. Yep. Well, this says between 50 and 700 plus.
Well, that's quite the range.
That's what it says. A female crawfish can typically, now this is AI, so they're just taking a collection.
Yeah.
They say the average is 200 to 400, but it can be up to 800.
Yeah. Do you believe that, Zach? AI is going to take over the world. Yeah.
I believe it. I used to be in the crawfish business, and I was a crawfish farmer for a season.
Really?
So,
What,
Yeah.
2 weeks?
about three. About
3 weeks? Yeah.
Was that
I was
when
in
we
co-
were in the
I-
crawfish business? Did you work for us?
Well, what had happened was we were out by this guy I knew had they hunted this rice field out off was it Highway 15? What's the one right out there?
That's
so
it.
they duck hunted out there. We would go out there a few times a year with him, and so I don't know why he went out there, but he said, man, he came back to the house and was like, you are to see the crawfish on this rice farm. He said they're like all over the levees, I mean everywhere. So we drove out there, and literally you drive down the levee of a rice field, and it was just like millions of them.
Yeah.
And so
It's
went
quite
down
a scene when you see it. In
it's
wildlife.
like I'd never seen anything quite like. They were huge.
It makes you want to go grab a net and start grabbing them up.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a net, so we went down to Phil's house and we told him what we saw. And then Phil was basically like, here's what you're going to do. He said, I've got 50 traps right out there in the yard. You're going to load those up in your truck, and you're going to take it down there, and you're going to go get you some buffalo heads. And he said, go run.
Those
he
are
had
fish,
a whole process.
not a buffalo.
We
like
didn't
the
kill actual
Midwest.
buffalo, just so you know.
There's
And
a
he's like,
fish.
you're going to throw. There's a fish. He said, you throw
Well,
the head in
I have
there.
to explain that because most people don't call buffalo fish buffalo.
I have a story that I tell about Dad, and I say buffalo in it. And afterwards, if I don't clarify it, somebody will come and say, you mean did your dad used to actually kill buffalo? No, it's a fish. It's a drum.
So I don't know about you guys, but as you have more kids, you know what else I've noticed happens is you get more gray hair. Not a lot, but I'm getting it in my beard.
Maybe you just want to slow it down, Zach.
Yeah.
Slow it down. One of our new sponsors is a company called Array. I got a thick beard, but I was looking at old pictures. It used to be a lot thicker. You probably think that graying is all genetics, but it's really only about 30% genetic. The rest is influenced by just lifestyle, environment, stress. I mean, that's why you always say, man, you're giving me gray hair here. You tell your kids that. So it can change. Your scalp ages faster than the skin on your face, and Array is like an anti-aging care for your hair and your scalp. And over 300,000 people are already using it. Array's Shower Duo is an absolute game changer. It cleans gently, adds lightweight hydration, smooths coarse hair, and leaves your hair soft and shinier. In a 24-week independent study, 94% saw improved hair, 83% said it felt softer, and 77% noticed fewer new gray hairs. The Shower Duo is the easiest place to start because you're already washing your hair anyways. Array just upgrades your routine. And if you want to go further, they've got a daily supplement and a scalp serum as well. Most people just cover upgrades, but you can actually slow their progression. So for a limited time, listeners to our show, you get 15% off by using code UNASHAMED at array.com. Just head on over to arey.com. Use code UNASHAMED and you're all set. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support this show and tell them you heard about them here. It's a fish, and so he said, cut the heads off of them, throw the heads in the trap, and he gave us all the instructions. And he said, and then you bring me back 2 sacks, and you keep the rest. And that was his instruction. So we went out there, and we put out those 40 traps. And I'm not kidding you. Probably 30 minutes later, I just picked one up. I waited out there in that rice field because about up to your thigh deep. I picked that trap up, and I mean, slam full of crawfish. And I picked up the next one, slam full. So we ended up. Then we went down to the local shop there called Cormier's, which back then I think that was about the only place in town you could just like.
Yeah, they were the original.
Yeah, that was the original crawfish place. So then we started running a business. Jep was in on it. And we did not sleep for about 2.5 weeks. and we just, as many as we could get, we would go and sell them. And then we got done. We took all those traps back down to your dad's. And
as soon as you were flush with cash, so you had you some beer money back in those days, I'm sure.
All little beer money.
Then you were
money.
Good.
Yeah, but Phil
when Zach and Jeff were still working on their testimony back in those days.
Yeah, we were still working on the testimony.
Just so you know.
No, actually, you know what? No, we
were y'all cleared up
by
then?
Okay, we were cleared up by then.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah,
that was probably about the time we got into the farm, which lasted a couple of years. But
that was after that. So Jase spent one whole year. That was right after you graduated high school, Crawfish, and you and Curly were the managers of the operation. It was such a tough experience that Jase was actually ready to go to preaching school.
Where was the farm at?
It was where our property is now. Yeah. Ironically,
so y'all were farming crawfish.
Yeah,
I did it for.
We're talking hundreds of traps. That y'all did 40. Jase was doing probably what?
We had 500 twice a day. We ran them.
Did y'all get a bunch of them?
Oh my goodness, they're sacks and sacks. We were selling them to Super One.
500 traps, Zach.
They literally set up a boat in the store, and the crawfish that Jase and Curly were catching were going in to the they were providing the supermarket with crawfish, and they would just pour them in this boat live. They're just crawling around there, and people would come and get them and buy them.
I've shared this before. I don't know where you were. I've
never heard this.
It's like
they went to. How many times did y'all have to go to the hospital for?
That's what Zach, I could have died. That's what
Jase,
really
you almost died.
That's what really shut it all down.
They had blood poisoning because they were dealing with all these things they were putting.
So here's let me sum it up in 60 seconds, I guess. Feels like I think we can make some money doing these crawfish. So my dad bought these pellets.
Yeah.
Because it was easy. You put the little brown pellet, looked like dog food.
Yeah. Kind of like what they feed catfish.
Every trap would have 7 or 8 crawfish. He's like, I know there's more crawfish here.
And you got to buy that stuff, so it's cutting into your profits.
So somebody told him, well, you got to have fresh bait, Phil. Well, he's got all his hoop nets because we were commercial fish in the river. So that's when this thing took a turn. So then we would go run the nets, take all the good fish, go sell them at the fish market, take all the coil fish and chop them up, put them in the crawfish traps. We got 500 traps. So we start running these nets, taking the good fish, selling them at the market, taking the bad fish, not bad as in worthless. We were throwing those back, but now we're using those for bait. But just think about this. If every day you wake up and you're chopping up fish, using it for bait, then you're running 500 traps, well, all of a sudden, we started catching 10 to 20 times what we were catching. So now we're selling them. But your hands, even though you had gloves on, crawfish will pinch you. Then you have the bait. Well,
you have fins.
Fins are punching
And the problem is now everything is in varying degrees of decay. Like the bait, and then as I recall, y'all were fishing so much you couldn't catch enough fish to bait, so then it was roadkill.
Well, people started bringing in stuff that they ran over,
dead squirrels,
started getting
carcasses.
There was a freezer full of dead animals.
It started getting weird, and felt like I had gone into a medieval existence. Because, look, Al, we're doing this all day, every day.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was good money, and we were eating a lot of crawfish.
Oh, yeah.
That was fantastic. The downside is, red streaks started going up my arms. And, look, I will say this. Every 5 traps had a snake in it.
Yeah.
At first,
that's part of it.
Was terrifying because you pull up the trap, there's just a snake. Well, after a while,
they became bait.
They became bait. And
anything that lived outside of the crawfish became bait for the crawfish.
There was only 2 things that stopped production, which is because every 20 snakes would be a poisonous snake.
Right.
Now that, we shut the motor off.
Because that had to be dealt with.
Well, you can die immediately. And the other thing was when someone got knocked out of the boat, which happened. The most funny story of all is the boat. We're just doing our thing, and all of a sudden I'm like, "What is Phil doing?" Because he was driving the motor. We're headed to the bank, wide open. I turn around and look, and I see Phil way off in the distance, hanging on a tree, literally a tree limb, trying to stay out of the water. And we're going wide open
with nobody at the motor.
Brace for impact, because I didn't have time to get to the motor. And we just wham, crashed the boat. I think at that point, because then that day, Curly wound up going to the hospital again for blood poisoning and spent 4 or 5 days there to get over it. And we just kind of had a meeting and said, you know what?
Well, here's what. So the year prior, Zach, when Jase graduated high school, some guys came out and tried to recruit us to go to seminary, and we said no. I was still in college, helping out a little bit with Dad and the duck call business, and we said no, even though we were starving to death. And then Dad gets into the crawfish caper, and then when they came back the second year, all of a sudden it was like, you know what? And they said, somebody will support you guys to go to school. And Jase and I looked at each other and thought, it's just studying the Bible for 2 years. I mean, what could be wrong with that?
I'll tell you what, when my little stint in the crawfish business, it was when I saw what they eat. Like you said, the roadkill, decaying carcasses. I mean,
Zach, if you died and fell in the water,
they'd eat you.
They would have eaten you.
That's
they
when
would
I
eat
was
you.
like, and that's the first time that I felt I really questioned my eschatology. Whenever he says that don't call anything, he says don't call anything unclean that I've called clean. The rise, kill, and eat. That when all that stuff came down, I actually thought I understand why God told the Jewish people not to eat crawfish. Because they are nasty. I mean, if you look at what they eat, I mean, it is a.
Well, you do realize that the bowel tract of a crawfish is the only thing between that decaying material and your bowel tract. It does make you wonder. But I have to say, they're delicious.
I will close this story out with an important point. I believe that Louisiana is God's chosen people of the USA to figure out what you were supposed to eat, because that's the people who came up with eating crawfish, oysters, all this kind of stuff.
That is true. They were willing to take a shot.
That's why it's called the sportsman's paradise.
You cracked open an oyster and said, "Man, that looks tasty," and they are delicious.
Phil famously said that in Louisiana, the 2 questions that rule are: what is it? Can we eat it?
That's it.
Will it make us
So
sick?
you're welcome, America. We broke down those walls, and that's why. Look at crawfish. I mean, you're talking about delicious.
They're fantastic. I have to say, I agree. So, Jase, you got a couple of pooches, and one of them was your dog. The other one you inherited. So you weren't in the raising and the training part of the second poochie. Did that make a difference?
That's a nice way of saying my second dog has terrible manners. And yet, I reward both of them equally with their favorite, which is rough chews, which I have in my hand.
Yeah, we love rough greens because, let's face it, our dogs show up for us, even the ones sometimes that have some manner issues. But here's one thing that happens. They all get older. They get a little slower. They get a little pickier about their food. Their stomachs get off, and then you got some problems, right? You got some cleanup issues, and you got some sick dogs. And it's mostly from traditional dog food. It's missing probiotics, it's missing enzymes, omega oils, and the key, it's missing the live vitamins and minerals that your dog needs to digest and absorb food. Rough Greens is America's #1 dog supplement, and you sprinkle it right on their food. It's packed with all the live nutrients they need. Plus, it's all natural, and it's made in the USA. Rough Greens is helping dogs feel younger, more energetic, and healthier than they have in years, and your dog could be one of them. I know when my 3 dogs line up and they're ready, they look forward to Rough Greens being on their food. They enjoy it. Their coats are shinier than ever. And so you can have this for your dog. You get a free Jumpstart trial bag for your dog. You just cover the shipping. Go to roughgreens.com. Use the discount code UNASHAMED. Rough Greens. We make any dog food better. We have a special guest today, Melissa Doherty. Did I pronounce the last name right, Melissa?
I'm so impressed. Yes.
I've been working on that for a couple of days since I found out you were coming on, but we're super excited. We had a classic Unashamed foible because you're in another time zone than us. So you popped right in the middle of our podcast. Yep. It's not your fault. It's our fault. We should have known. It's not your fault. No. We should have known that.
Totally my fault. 100%.
So you're from New Mexico. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's where you live?
Yeah.
It's funny because I've been to New Mexico. I think I spoke there once, but it's one of the least states I've been to, which is weird because, like, we speak all around the country, Melissa, and just for whatever reason, I don't get invited there much.
Nobody comes here. Don't come here.
Old Jase has been there.
It's like a mini California. It's real blue. It's kind of not to brag, but we're #3 for crime. So, who wants to come here? But it has some other really good elements to it. Like my husband, he's a hot air balloon pilot. It's the mecca for hot air balloons, and it's beautiful out here. Yeah.
Hot air balloon pilot. How do you become that?
Oh, it's actually out here. It's kind of easy because every morning right now they're up in the air because it's the perfect place for balloons because of the wind. Because whenever you fly a plane, you just kind of go where you want. But out here, the wind has to be a certain way. And they have what's called the box, where if you fly up in the air, it goes right, then up, then over and back down. And so naturally, it's kind of a growing community of hot air balloon pilots. And you can get on a crew to help crew the balloon, pack it up, pull it out. It's a big thing. And he got involved that way. And eventually he's like, yeah, I think I want to do this for a living, and went and got his pilot's license and did all the serious stuff.
That is
we have 2 balloons.
That is fascinating. I had no idea.
Come on out. We'll take you guys
my
up.
redneck mind, I didn't know there was a pilot. I thought they were just jumping in and hanging on.
No, sir.
And we'll figure out where it lands. I always liked it because I thought it was kind of a redneck
Jase comes
thing.
from the land of hold my beer and watch this mentalities. That's why he describes that. So
the only time I was on a hot air balloon, which was self-made, and we jumped off the little cliffs down there where we used to jump in the river.
Yeah.
I was not piloting that contraption.
You don't say.
I just went straight down in the river and, swam to shore.
So are you?
Yeah, you kind of have to be a meteorologist for it. You have to know where the wind's going and all the things. It's a whole thing. You have to know a lot.
That's fascinating.
Seems like something I could get into. Well, I wanted to say this. I have done a couple of events in New Mexico, but I've duck hunted out there several times. And so I didn't know if you were aware of this, but there's a lot
No.
of ducks in New Mexico.
No, I don't pay very much attention to the ducks
Yeah.
outside the zoo.
Yeah, well, I didn't hunt in the zoo. I draw a line there.
Where did you go to hunt, though? Where do we have them out here
You
to
know,
bring you out here to hunt?
It's been a few years, but there was a fireman out there that wrote a letter, and my dad said, "Yep, there's."
Wasn't it more the southern part, closer to Mexico, is
think
what I was
so.
thinking.
I think
Maybe
we
Las
were-
Cruces.
We were
Yeah.
around
Something like
some native reservations. I remember that. So I'm not sure where that's at, but
Yeah, New Mexico is filled with all kinds of different. We're in the Albuquerque area, so we're kind of in the middle up there. So maybe you were more up north; it's more green. So
we went several times and had, because the best thing when a state doesn't have a whole lot of water they're not known for, it kind of
Yeah.
localizes the ducks. And there was no hunters
Yeah, nobody
around.
hunted, yeah.
It was us and the firemen. We're just going out there wherever. So it was kind of like
Hot air balloons.
and hot air balloon. Did you see any while you were out
I
here?
wonder if you could hunt
I'm
out
sure
of a
I
hot air
did
balloon.
now that I thinking about it.
That's the
I don't
merger.
think you
Hunt
can
out of a
shoot-
hot air
Hunt
balloon.
out of a hot air
I don't
balloon.
think
Ask
you
your
can
husband
shoot a
about that,
gun.
Melissa.
That's great.
I must
I don't
do
think you
that
can shoot a
before
gun
I
outside
die.
of it.
I may have to do that when I get the resurrected body, just to do
Yeah.
it. I mean, Jesus ate fish post resurrection, so I'm
Well,
saying,
Dad always said, and now I guess he knows. He said, and when he gets on the other side, he said it's going to be a pristine swamp, ducks everywhere, shotgun shells. You don't have to worry, eternal supply, and not a game warden in sight. That's what he used to
Yeah.
say. So
Yeah, you can toss things out of the balloon. They do target practice, like little army men with the parachutes, right? They just toss them out. I don't think you can shoot a gun out of a hot air balloon, but I will ask just for your sake.
well, I will accept that challenge if we ever want to do that one day.
Well, you're welcome to come on out if you guys ever want to go up.
So, Melissa, it says here in the bio about you, you're a Christian apologist, author, artist, wife, and mother. And so we already got to experience a little of that. We picked up our hot debate from earlier, and you jumped right in. So we're going to have that debate at some point, and you're going to come back because that was
100%.
That's too much fun. And Zach
We
needs
don't-
a buddy.
It's
yeah,
fun.
I don't
It's
want to bring.
fun.
I don't want to bring up what the debate was, but I'll just say this: that Melissa was certainly Team Zach, and so it was nice. It was very.
Zach, do you feel fortified now that Melissa has come on and joined you? I can
it
tell
felt
already
a-
she's very smart,
You know,
too.
the biblical arc of creation, fall, redemption, restoration. It felt like restoration. It felt like the Lord was doing something. I felt vindicated. It was beautiful.
So,
Okay, is this right? I looked this up. According to AI, the definition of an apologist is a person who offers an argument in defense of something controversial.
Yeah, anybody could be an apologist, technically. Like, think of a lawyer. There's Muslim apologists for Islam. There's LDS, Mormon apologists for Mormonism. And then there's Christian apologists. And that's what it is that there's an active defense, knowing what you believe and why you believe it, using a lot of critical thinking, logic, reasoning, knowing your Bible and what it says and why it says it in order to defend it. Because there's a lot of garbage out there. And my background, actually, I grew up in a New Age, New Thought kind of movement. Two different things. That's actually what my first book was about, Happy Lies. It was about the New Thought movement. And it's about a movement you've probably never heard of that shaped our self-obsessed world. That's the subtitle. And so there's a lot of nopey nonsense out there, my friends. And I'm just here to make it less nopey. And so people can know what that is, so they can know better what they believe and why they believe it.
So, see, in my simple mind, here's what I got out of that. Lawyers actually are going to heaven. There's going to be
Depending on
some
what
that
they're
make it.
defending. Yes, sir.
That was a joke, but kind of not really.
That was a good joke.
I came to that realization when I went to Alliance Defending Freedom and met some of those lawyers who donate their time for religious freedom and found out, yes, there's some fantastic lawyers. So tell us a little bit more about that, Melissa, because we'll get to your book, which is why we brought you on. But I was curious about that because I saw that you had come out of kind of that mysticism or what would you call it, as you described it, that background, because Zach deals with that a lot up where he is. in his area. Is that not correct, Zach? Don't you deal with that, talking with folks?
Yeah, we live in Nashville, which is very new age. They call it a vortex city. And so but we've seen so many people coming to Christ out of that in the last couple of years that it's pretty wild. But yeah, that's the world that we live in, and it's been interesting. Though I think that a lot of these New Age mystics that we've met with, they do at least have a much more poignant or maybe visceral longing for a kingdom that's here. They don't have the context for that, and then when they meet Christ, they're like, "Oh, this is the one we were looking for." And it's just been an incredible journey the last 4 years at our church. I mean, I'm telling you, we've baptized probably 40 or 50 of these people into Christ, and so it's been pretty beautiful. So we came from Louisiana, though, Melissa. So I didn't have that background. Obviously, that's not a big thing down where we came from. But so we moved here. It was we were a little bit ill-equipped, but the Holy Spirit certainly has equipped us over the last few years. I'm looking up your book right now. I didn't know that was your background. That's interesting.
So this episode is brought to you by Pocket Hose, the world's #1 expandable hose. Jase, it's springtime. You've been outside. We've been doing a lot of cleanup work in the yards ever since the ice apocalypse. How much has this product helped you?
I have fallen in love with this because we had the ice storm, and now it hasn't rained in a month. So I got it all cleaned up, but I'm using the actual pocket hose. I like the 10 pattern sprayer. I mean, I spent 30 minutes just seeing what it would do. And I was like, now we're talking.
Yeah, because every job is different, right? And Pocket Hose can help you with whatever you're having to do in your yard. Pocket Hose is a rust-proof, anti-burst hose that's easy to manage and easy to store. You just turn the water on and it grows. Turn the water off and it shrinks back down to pocket size. Regular hoses are a pain to drag around the yard. They get kinks, they get creases throughout the season, and they make water flow a challenge. I have had so many battles with hoses through the years. Check this product out. For a limited time, our listeners can get a free pocket pivot and their 10 pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size copperhead hose. Just text UNASHAMED to 64,000. That's UNASHAMED to 64,000 for your 2 free gifts with purchase. UNASHAMED to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Yeah, it's there's a mecca of people coming out of New Age. What I thought I came out of was New Age, though. So I always say I'm an ex-New Thoughter with a little bit of ex-New Ager sprinkled in. And that's where I never wanted to write a book because it's hard. It takes a lot of time, a lot of research, and there's a lot of responsibility when you put your name on something like that, especially if it's never been touched before. And so when I realized what it was, I'm like, oh no, I have to write a book. And so I did, and I'm glad I did. But yeah, it's called Happy Lies. Yeah, the New Thought movement. I think it always helps to kind of define the two because everybody's heard of New Thought. Everybody. If they've never heard of the word New Thought, you know exactly what it is though. And, but everybody knows usually what New Age is and they can spot it better, especially Christians. So like New Age, if you think about it, it's more Eastern. Think of more Hinduism, Buddhism, transcendental meditation, psychic mediums. Yeah. The crystal ball, chakras, reincarnation, karma, energies. Yes. Reiki, all those things, right? We know exactly what it is when we see it. New Thought, I didn't even know there was a word for it, but it looks and sounds Christian. It's more Gnostic in origin. It claims to be true, real Christianity. This is where it gets tricky because you have people calling themselves Christian who are believing in these metaphysical beliefs. If I were to define New Thought in 2 words, it would be metaphysical Christianity. All that means is that everything that you see physically has a spiritual counterpart, including words. And so when you're reading the Bible, if you're reading it, say you're reading something as simple and clear as John 1:1. Okay, we read that and there's a fancy word in seminary and in apologetic spaces called hermeneutics. And all that means is understanding the context in which you're reading. We do this with any history book, by the way.
Right.
Who's writing it? Where did they write it? When did they write it? Who are they writing it to? The fun stuff. I get a kick out of that. I'm like, oh, this is what it really means. And then you draw the meaning from the text. Now take that and reverse it completely. You're the arbiter. You're the one that interprets it on how it feels to you and what it means to you. Because metaphysically speaking, truth is found from within, not outside of yourself, because God is in you. So it's a subjective interpretation. It's metaphysical. There's a higher, deeper, esoteric, hidden meaning within that text that's meant for you. And so that makes it really tricky, because then people are like, oh, it's secret, it's hidden. And it got me. Okay. It got me. So metaphysical Christianity, in a sentence, I would say it's the positive thinking movement in America with Jesus as its mascot. This is a movement within America, within the world, really, of positive thinking. Your words can create your reality. Your thoughts can create. Sickness, poverty, things like that are all a state of mind. How you feel creates your reality. You speak affirmations. I am affirmative statements, because what you speak, you create. And it creates a lot of distortion of truth, which is why the book is titled the way it is, Happy. It's Happy Lies. And the cover is very specific as well. It's a mirror, because there's a saying in New Thought that when you look in the mirror, there's a God staring back at you. And that's the secret. That's the truth of what Jesus was really trying to say. Wow. So some terms that people might understand in New Thought, Christ consciousness, that's a big one. Speaking and believing, naming it and claiming it. There's a lot of word of faith, positive confession in that movement. That's actually directly from New Thought. I always wondered why that was. I'm like, man, why are you guys doing the law of attraction? I used to do that, and but it's related. There's a lot of pseudoscience of, neuroscience and quantum mechanics says that, did you know that it can change the dynamic of your food, the chemistry of your food, depending on how you feel? A lot of that is really New Thought. You create and affect the reality around you. And it sounds really good. And it duped me. It got me. And so, yeah, that's basically what the book is about.
That's fascinating. Well, two things that when your description of it, what I was thinking, and you just said it, you got there where I was thinking, listen to you, was it's the ultimate form of idolatry.
Yes.
I mean,
you are God.
Yes, you are God. I mean, that's where you go with that, right? Because you create.
We're going back to a conversation that happened in the garden.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, because that was the ultimate lie, right? You will be like God. And 100%. So I totally see it. I had no idea. I did not know any of that you just described, that was the foundation. I'd heard of the movement, but I didn't know what they believed. I'd never researched it. So
it's not too far away from, we're studying 1 John right now.
Yeah.
And these people not acknowledging Jesus as coming in the flesh.
Yeah.
These people trying to lead them astray, I think, which he dubbed that a spirit of the Antichrist. Mm-hmm. And so I see
he's writing to a church that had been affected by Gnosticism.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of what we had concluded.
And another thing you said, Melissa, that I was striking, you said we were making a lot of I am statements, which is such a big deal when you study John's writings about there's only one I am. Mm-hmm. And it's not you.
Yeah.
You can I am all you want, but you're not the I am.
You got it. Yeah.
That's why that Jesus coming in the flesh is kind of like the big dividing line. Yeah. We've dealt with a lot of this, even what you're talking about, Melissa, even with these New Age folks coming to Christ. It's kind of a process of getting out of that mentality. I mean, even the term esoteric, I've heard that once. I've heard it 1,000 times. I was like, and it was, it's like the idea that there's this hidden special knowledge that I'm getting this private kind of revelation, not even really revelation, because it's derived from within. Mm-hmm. You just determine your own reality. The way it kind of manifests in, pun intended, in pop culture language is I'm going to manifest this.
Yes.
And so manifest, I'm manifesting. What does that mean? I'm making this thing come into being. I'm gonna say the thing that I want to happen. So then it drips down even into kind of pop culture with people who aren't necessarily new thoughters or new agers.
Yes.
They've just bought into it. They're like, I'm
You get it.
manifesting what I want to be true.
Yep. You get it. This is how everybody knows exactly what it is. And even the self-help movement was built on the shoulders of New Thought authors like Napoleon Hill. People don't realize he's a New Thought author and a scam artist, by the way. I made a whole video about him. You have, who was the other guy? Dale Carnegie. I mean, you have so many people who were writing about basically that you now have attributes of God that once only belonged to God. That's the big secret. So you got it. You nailed it.
But that's not the book we're talking about today, is it?
No, today I was about to say, but that is
rabbit holes here.
That's a very interesting book. No, so I definitely want to talk about this. So here on set, we've got the book, The Day That Made the Way, and it's a Brave book, which we've been. Brave has been a sponsor of the podcast for quite a while. Missy has a book with Brave, and so do Jeff and Jessica. Of course, our old friend Kirk Cameron, a ton of people that are awesome. And I loved it. I jokingly say that Jase does better with children's book because he likes pictures.
I do. I like it.
The illustrator did good here.
We had Tebow on the podcast recently because he has a new illustrated book, and Jase was enamored. But it really is good. And I'll say this as we begin the discussion about it, because I want you to give us the why you wrote it and the importance of it. But it was very C.S. Lewis-esque.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, that's what I thought, because we just did a Hillsdale study on C.S. Lewis, and I love it when you can create other people. I could never do. I don't have enough creativity to do that. But you created like this new group of people, and in a setting where children would love the story. And how you describe it, and they're called the Sunders. But tell a little bit about why you wrote it and kind of what your purpose was in writing.
Hey guys, I want to tell you guys about something that's really cool we're doing with our Hillsdale Friday episodes. We're going to pick one listener to come down to West Monroe, Louisiana, to watch a live recording of Unashamed. And we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for travel and lodging for you and a guest, up to $1,000 each. All you got to do is take the Ancient Christianity course with us. We're doing that every Friday. Finish all the quizzes and send us your certificate of completion. You can sign up and take the course for free at unashamedforhillsdale.com. Then you can upload your certificate at watchunashamed.com, and you'll be entered for the drawing. We'll pick a winner in June, so you guys stay tuned.
Yeah, it was twofold. I am not excited to write again, right? A book, I'm good, I'm done. But a children's book was very different because, first of all, they pitched to me that it would be an allegory around Easter, my favorite holiday of all time. I love Easter. And I'm like, oh, okay, let me think about it. But then it turned into a family project where all of a sudden, because you know how Brave is, they're phenomenal. They're such a good, I love Brave. They're great family company, very family oriented. They do it so well. And they just opened the doors wide open, like bring your kids, let's get ideas from them. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm sold. Let's do this. And so they got to design some, like the Sunders, they helped design the Sunders, right? They sent in their drawings and the illustrator did a phenomenal job. Somebody said it looked like a baby Groot.
That's what I thought. I thought baby Groot. That's exactly what I thought.
Over my head. I totally didn't see it until somebody mentioned it. I'm like, oh, now I can't unsee it. That's awesome. That is so good. But yeah, the girls, they designed their own little characters. They didn't want to be in specifically. My oldest daughter, she's like, let's make them twins. And, one of them's a boy, the other's a girl. It was fun. And then, of course, we had little Easter eggs, pun intended. If my husband, his hot air balloons are in the beginning. And then there's me and my husband, and we look that way. And it was just so fun because we all got to come together to do that part of it. And then it was the actual allegory part of it. The storyline was phenomenal. The meaning, the direct correlation to scripture. I mean, look at the cover. I mean, is that not narrow gate? You know what I mean?
It's
the
so
light.
Good.
Yes. And one thing I really wanted to transfer over was the light, because John 6, everybody knows John 6, or John 3, my bad. John 3:16. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever should believe in him will be saved, right? But then if you keep reading the rest of it, it's so good. It's so beautiful. Because the idea is that, Jesus said, I didn't come to condemn you. I came to save you. Why? Because you're already condemned. People miss this. People think that God sends people to hell. It's like, no, you're already on your way there. I'm here to save you from it. And then the verdict is that the light came into the world. Jesus came into the world, but people loved their darkness, right? They loved their darkness. They didn't want to be exposed. They're afraid of the light. They're not afraid of the dark. They love their darkness. They're afraid of the light. And so there's an allegorical truth all throughout the entire book about that. And at the end, it's my favorite, the little sunder, which means separated, by the way. So the terminology was very specific, that sunder means to be separated. And at the end, this little sunder, he's looking at the light and he's just kind of afraid of it. And he looks and he sees the bright one. That's the main character, the Jesus figure in the allegory. And he runs towards the light, right? And it transforms him. And so that's the lesson at the end. I leave it with that scripture and I say, don't be afraid of the light. Little kid, little child reading this story, run to the light. You're going to have this division within you. You're going to have this fight, but go towards the light.
Yeah, you say the quote that you add in there at the very end, before there was a way into the light, someone had to step down into darkness. And it's really, really, really good. And one of the things I love, we talk a lot on this podcast about living in light now, and the idea of when Jesus came, he brought eternity and the concept with him. And so when the kingdom is established, we live in the light now. And that's what the book teaches, which I thought was really, really good. In other words, instead of waiting until eternity before we go into this light, it's like now.
It's so weird because I remember my dad, who we witnessed do thousands of Bible studies on our couch when we were kids. We would watch this. And he was so blunt because he had such a terrible background, I guess he got away with it. But he would confess his sins openly. But he used to ask people, it's interesting you brought that up. He'd ask them, are you scared of the dark? And when you say that to people, everybody always says yes.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking, oh yeah, if all the lights are out,
Yeah.
And he would say, well, you're not acting like it. Because he's already heard what they're into, And then he would read that end of John 3.
Really?
And he would say, you're scared of the light. Yeah. And so it's interesting when you brought that up, because I thought, well, my dad used to use that same principle with just an individual on the couch talking about how they're living their life. And so I thought it was
wholesome. I love that.
Yeah, it's profound, but it makes people think, you know what? Yeah, because when nobody's around, I'm doing a lot of cutting up.
Well, and Melissa, that was one of the things I said was like C.S. Lewis, because a lot of his allegories, he pressed the same point that you're doing in it. And I love it that it's shaping in the minds of children, because they have to see, they may not even get it in the moment, but they're going to get it at some point. But the idea that it's hard to separate from that which we're plagued with, because that's what we know. And a lot of Lewis's work was like that. Zach, you mentioned before on the lizard, remember was that from Great Divorce?
Yeah, the Great Divorce.
Yeah, the lizard
on the shoulder.
On the shoulder.
Flipping his tail and whispering the lies of lust in his ear. And the angel's like, hey, can I kill that? And he's like, ooh, I don't know. If you that's going to hurt. Yeah, it might kill me. And he's like, yeah, it might. But, you want to go on like this? And and then when he took the lizard off and threw it on the ground, and it turned into like the stallion or something that the man could ride. And so the thing that was controlling him, that was having dominion over him, he ends up having dominion over once the liberation happened. And I think that it's such a key thing, and I love the way you could tell those stories, Melissa, because I think the default position of the way most of us grew up, if you're in church culture, even if you're not, you've grew up with a very humanistic framework of how you interpret reality, and so everything is about, I'm going to perform so that God will give me the reward and not send me to the punishment place. when this is much more about
Mm-hmm.
just no, this is more of an ontological reality. This is the way the world is.
Yeah.
This is being, and one way is life, one way is death. And so my revelation is not I'm providing with you. I'm turning on the light so that you can see what life really is.
Mm-hmm. And you guys are in First John now too, because he's talking about the light's there and the darkness doesn't know it. Yeah.
Well, you think about like when we've told this analogy on the podcast before, but you wake up in the middle of the night. I've done this several times in my life. I'm in a hotel room. I don't know where I'm at. I wake up. There's no light whatsoever, and you just kind of freak out, and you're like, "What? Where am I at? What's going on?" You have no context for anything. And the moment that you find relief is when you stumble, to the floor, and then you can see that little crack under the door. You see that crack of light, and then that's your context. Now I got a place to move towards and move and get out of the darkness. But there's nothing worse than waking up in total darkness, not knowing where you're at. We've all had that experience. And as soon as you can find that smallest sliver of light, then you can have hope. And I think that's kind of the picture, what you write in the book. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And I hope it sticks with kids, because there's something about allegory, like Pilgrim's Progress. I'm not sure if you guys have ever watched the animated version, but that's what we watch every Easter. And that is I always want to say Paul Bunyan, John Bunyan. The elementary kid in me and the Christian, they kind of fight for that name. But yeah, John Bunyan, he wrote the Pilgrim's Progress. And there's something about allegory, even Tolkien. I'm reading through the Lord of the Rings series again. It's just, there's something about when darkness is in the world and there's pain and there's evil and there's suffering, those stories speak to that fight, that fight against good and evil. Because that's what it is. I mean, it's an allegory book for kids, but I want them to remember it, because they're going to go out there someday in this battle, and they're going to have to fight a spiritual battle. And there's something about knowing what that goodness is, and that it's worth fighting for, and what that light is, and how to dispel the darkness, because there's so many lies out there. There's like 1,000 million trillion lies, but there's one truth. Yeah. And there's so much darkness, right? But that light is so bright. I really just hope that they remember that. I want them to have that kind of, like you mentioned C.S. Lewis. Why do we all know that, right? Yeah. Like, why do we all respond to that? And so that's my hope with it, is that what allegory in general has done for me and my children, I hope to kind of pass that baton over in this book.
Yeah, I think it will. I mean, we were talking about this in a previous podcast. Lewis was a skeptic. We all know kind of the story, but like there's an interesting story of how Tolkien basically would walk with him. And there was who was the other guy?
There were 3 or 4 of them.
But they would walk with Lewis as he's working through his doubts, and he's trying to intellectually satisfy all these objections. And I love apologetics too, but that did not really do anything for him in terms of coming to Christ. And it was when Tolkien was basically like, you got to quit, like, not that you leave your rationality, but like you're trying to approach this strictly through the lens of rationality. And he said, why don't you just rest in the story of Christianity? And it was the story that led Lewis to Christ. And I think that's how we all operate primarily, is through the lens of story. And it's not anti-rational. It's more than rationality, though. And with kids especially, that's why I would highly encourage you guys to get this book. I'm always a big advocate of any of the stories that we can tell our kids when they're young, to foster the imagination for the kingdom while they're very young, to incubate them in these stories, because I promise you, the time is coming when there's another story that's going to be inundating them. Yep. And that's what scares me with my own kids. It's like the other story that they're hearing that is a story of deformation, not a story of transformation. So I highly encourage you guys to get this book.
So the book is The Day That Made the Way. And I have on here, you can go to madetheway.com to get a copy of it. Is that right, Melissa?
Yes, sir. Madetheway.com is where it is. And I think that you can also get a plushie. There's an option to get a plushie there too, a little Sunder plush.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
And they can find you on YouTube because I know our listeners, a bunch of them are going to want to come listen to what you have to say. So your channel or whatever is on YouTube.
Yeah, you can just look me up, Melissa Doherty, on YouTube. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. What a blessing to get to meet you. And when we're ready to have that big debate, we're going to bring you back.
Let's go. Let's go. Gloves on. It'll be fun.
It'll be fun.
But yeah, thanks for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Melissa. God bless
Thank you, Melissa.
We'll see you next time on Unashamed.
Thanks for listening to the Unashamed podcast. Help us out by leaving a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. And don't miss an episode by subscribing on YouTube. And be sure to click the little bell and choose all notifications to watch every episode.